Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
From the Steel Valley Soccer Studios in Boardman, with Tim Walsh, Dan Conley, and Chris Platten. This is Pitchmen.
All right, Tim Walsh with Dan Conley. Dan, how you doing today?
I'm glad to be here. Glad to be in person.
Yeah.
I can slap you now instead of mentally doing it.
Hey, listen, I got my finger on the soundboard here. Be careful.
Yay.
But we are in the Steel Valley Soccer Studio. We actually are in it right now. We'll get a picture of it up on our social media. But we are going to talk all about our predictions for the year. We're going to go girls first, go D1 through D5, and kind of just talk about roughly who's going to be in the top of the pack in each division. Are we always right? No. But I feel like we do a pretty good job of giving our predictions. I don't know if you ever see the ones from years past. If you see the stars on the bottom or on the top, that's about how many wins we expect teams to win.
Yeah, like our website said at the end of the year last year, we tried our best. Now, we have a pretty good pulse on what's going on around here. We can make our best educated guess,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we have a pretty good education on what's going on. But
We're out interviewing coaches. Just today, 3 coaches got interviewed. The videos are going to go up pretty soon, hopefully starting August 1st. Texting coaches, looking at the data online and on OSSCA, which I really wish that they would just stick with. Max Preps is hard to read.
yeah, the goal situations on
Yeah.
OSSCA and all that are way easier. And I would like to put out the easiest way to help us get our the pulse of what's going on is to have the stats, is to reach out to us, talk to us, tell us what's going on.
We have a cell phone number now. It's a Google number that you can text. It's not our individual number, so you're not bothering us at all times of the night. We have a number that you could text anytime someone scores in any of your games. Text us, Canfield boys 1, Boardman 0. This person scored in this minute. Boom. And we have it. We could put it. We're going to have a ticker on the bottom of our live stream when we do games.
Mm-hmm.
So other games that are going on that night, you'll be able to see the scores and what half it is. So we're doing big things.
It is cool we have a cell phone, but how much cooler would it have been if we could have made a pager? Just
So
like
you just page the number.
Yeah, that would have really got our attention mid-game. What's going on?
Just make sure you got quarters for the for the payphone.
Do you think kids that are playing right now, do you think if we were to show them what a pager is, they could guess it?
No, because there's one button.
Right.
It's like, how do you figure that out? I saw a lot of kids that was like, hey, with your hand, show us hanging up a phone. And most of us make like a Y and we slam it on the ground.
Right.
They just like tap their hand.
It doesn't have the same.
No.
Doesn't feel as good inside.
No,
when you're
it
done
doesn't
with that.
have that
Yeah.
closure that you need.
I always remember remember how we used to do like yearbooks way back in the day. We'd write on the back of them. I remember 8th grade year. Girl was like, here's my pager number. Page me as much as you want over the summer. Yeah. What good did that do?
I have some bad news, Dan. And everybody who said, don't change, I changed a lot.
Only your underwear? Never change. Only your underwear.
All right. Well, we're right where we want to be right now. And we're going to talk. Let's start on the girls' side. Now, there are some schools that are in Canton that are in the Mahoning Valley District or Youngstown District. We checked OSSCA, we checked Max Preps, we checked their website on their school. Some of these schools don't have their schedule up. So unfortunately, Glen Oak, our only Division I school, and both boys and girls in our entire district, they didn't have it up. So we don't have a prediction for them. We don't know who they're playing just yet.
Right. And my comment of these Canton teams coming over, I'm cool with it. But, we used to be involved in the Akron-Canton area. We kind of branched off to make our own, so we'd have our own, respectable, so we'd recognize ourselves more.
Absolutely.
Are these teams leaving Canton because of that, or are they leaving because we're a better district?
If I'm the athletic director and I have the choice to do this, I would do this because it's easier. I mean, you're the only Division I school in this district instead of being one of probably 14, 15 somewhere else. So, yeah, you're going to get a lot more. But from the coaches I've talked to, Divisions 1, 2, and 3 are all going to be combined as one district. So if you make first team all district, it'll be first team like Division 1, 2, 3 combined.
I'm assuming they're going to have first team, second team,
honorable mention, which I think someone said they do now that they have it, but I did not see it in their official press release from last year. I saw first and second team for like Division 2 and 3, no honorable mention. But
yeah, we'll figure this out as it goes. It'll be new for everyone.
Well, let's hope we all figure it out. Let's go to Division 2. We have Hoover, Harding, and Fitch. Dan, I'll let you take this one.
HHF. I don't know why I see that and I would do word alliteration. Cut that. But obviously Hoover is the top team out of these three here. Fitch is rebuilding. They got new coach in Kara Garland coming in.
Mm-hmm.
High praise. She's a very, very, very well-respected coach.
Absolutely.
Not only coach, but a person as well. So I know they're falling on some tough times as of late. Got to go back and rebuild that youth scene over there. And if they can do that, they'll be well on their way of going back into being a powerhouse like they used to be. Harding is a team, just like the boys, they surprise everybody. They don't have top to bottom.
They don't have a lot of depth,
right? But their top 3, 4 are just as good as anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And with the schedule they play, they're going to get some wins. And then Hoover, year in and year out, they're a good team. But when Fitch was in their prime, they were back and forth with them all the time.
Absolutely. And seeing these bigger schools that are roughly the same size, though, like you have 300 to 500 kids. I'm not 100% sure what the cutoff is for Division 2. I'm sure I could look it up, though. But you're not playing the biggest of like 1,000 people in their school type stuff.
Right.
So looking at it, I'd say, unfortunately, Harding and Fitch both are have losing seasons because both are, I think, on the rise.
Yeah.
I think both are kind of in the rebuilding phase of, just they're on the uptick now. But I say about 5 to 7 wins for each of those.
I'm right on board with that.
And Hoover, on the flip side of that, about 9 to 10 wins for them, another winning season for the Vikings.
Right. And we'll point out that Fitch and Hoover, not so much Harding, they do play some better teams, but Fitch and Hoover, they play a pretty good schedule.
Yes.
There's no easy games in that slot.
Well, and I'm not sure if does Harding have a JV team? I don't believe they do.
That's year to year.
I think so, but Fitch did not have a JV team, and this is the first time in a while last year. So
that makes it hard to rebuild teams.
It's when people graduate, and you're like, our next group up, your next group might be freshmen.
Yeah, and they might not have a lot of experience,
and they don't have a lot of freshmen. There's only about 3 or 4 that came out this year. I know a little bit about that. All right, so. Unfortunately, that's kind of what we're saying. Sorry if we say something negative about your team. We don't really play favorites. We just kind of call it like we see it, and we're not always right. So if we're wrong, and hopefully this is some fodder on your wall to say, hey, we're going to prove those 2 guys wrong, and I hope it happens.
Right, and we want all our local teams to do well, but just local teams playing local teams, someone's got to be a winner and a loser.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not really accounting for ties in what we're doing here, but
no one's going to tie this year. We are hell bent on 0 ties. Don't tell Bill Spencer, the tie master, who once had 6 ties, 7 ties in a season.
He squeezed about anything he could out of a game.
All right, Division 3, we got Lake, Boardman, Howland, and Canfield, and looking at the more local teams, Boardman, Howland, Canfield, we have each of them being a winning season. Now, before we keep going, Dan, what does a winning season? What's the definition for you? Because it changes, but not everybody has the same definition.
Right. I mean, a winning season means you have more wins than you have losses. And I'm not just saying, are we saying more wins than losses and ties combined?
Well, the way I look at it and the way I've been running it, and I guess a little bit, is you have more wins than you're over 50% wins than games played.
Okay.
So if you play 16 games and you only win 7, but you only lost 4, but you tied a bunch, 7 wins out of 16 games, that's not above 500. That's not a winning season.
Yeah, a successful season is different than a winning season.
Correct.
But a winning season to me is if you have more wins than you have losses and ties. I'm not saying combined. I'm just saying if you go 6, 4,
what if you go
4,
8, 8-1?
That's not a winning season. That's right. But if you go 6, 5, and 5, I know it's not possible. That's a winning season because you have more wins than you have anything else.
We're gonna have to make this a question. We're gonna have to settle this in the streets.
Let's settle it right now. We're here in person.
You start hearing fist fight. But no, we should put that. We should put that as a question on our podcast. We're going to put it on Spotify. We'll put it on Twitter. We'll maybe combine all the votes. Maybe people can vote more than once or twice. Who knows?
Right.
This is America. So we have Howland. I think Howland and Canfield has always been the best team in the last couple of years.
Right.
They've had a couple special teams, but they've lost a couple starters, a couple very big pieces that are Division I athletes. They have another couple of Division I athletes that are still on the team. I'd say Howland and Canfield are up there in the top 3, top 5 for me.
I would put them to top 2 in our area as of right now. It's kind of looking.
No, I think you're right. I didn't want to slight anybody, but yeah, looking at the list we have.
Canfield plays a tough schedule, and that's to their credit because they want to. Their goal was not to have a quote unquote winning season. They want to have success in the playoffs. So they, Coach Simone, he schedules them a tough schedule.
Do you know their last losing season?
I feel like we looked back on this. And
We did.
It was before you got there.
I just did it today too. 2011, and I think they went like 8-1. I think it was something crazy like that.
Yeah, I mean, Howland. They graduated a little bit from last year's team, but they're still bringing back the main crux of what made them successful last year. Canfield, it's hard to once you graduate like Macy, who was the player of the year and got so many accolades. They still have people coming up for sure, but their top, I think where Canfield separated themselves in years past, their top 1-2 players were better than anybody else on the field.
Yeah,
I'm not just saying they were better; they were way better than everybody else for the most part. Canfield still has a very solid 11 out there at all times. They may just not have that top end 1-2. But who knows as the season goes on? They may develop that as well.
We looked it up. 2011, they were 9-8-3, and I counted that as a losing record.
And that's a winning season in my book.
But last year, the players that have left from graduation, they're missing 87 goals and 44 assists. That's 78% of their goals.
Right.
Have been gone at graduation. So Howland, on the other hand, I think they might be the top in the area.
It could be.
They have Ava Yanucci back for her senior year.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of the pieces back. I mean, I don't think they lost much to graduation. I think they are the number 1 team right now in the way too early poll for us.
Canfield does still have a Division I commit in Lexi Topor too. Ava Paris and Lexi Toporser. So they have 2. I don't really know where Howland sits. Not that matters at anything. That doesn't mean that one's better than the other one.
But it looks better on a resume.
Right. But Howland, they play more of like I don't want to say, I think calling it a man's game is wrong. They play a more physical, in-your-face style of soccer, and they're also possessive. They're more like down your throat in every sense of the way.
They play a little bit of a different game to where it's less individual. It's more team-oriented and team. That it would translate better in the boys' side than maybe Canfield's. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I see what you're trying to say.
Right. Howland has less moving parts when they go forward. It's just more, they do play as a team. It's just they have talent everywhere and they kind of move out all the way up. It's just
systematic.
Yes. Canfield, they have, they are very more, there's a lot more that can go wrong in Canfield's scheme.
Yes.
Because there's more moving parts off the ball than they have. And unless it's all clicking, it can go bad in a hurry for Canfield. Yeah. But that doesn't happen very often. So
we'll see. So like you say, I agree with you. I think those are the top 2 teams in our area. And then Boardman comes in. Boardman had a successful year last year. They beat Hoover in overtime.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I remember we were doing a podcast and it was I was getting text about it. But for me, I think they're just above a winning season. I think that it's a little bit of a rebuilding. It's a little bit of they lost a couple seniors. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, and that was their coach's first year.
Correct.
I think he had a much better season than I thought they were going to have, and that could be my fault for thinking that. But they have a lot of people coming up. They have a big team. It's reload and retool for them.
On the other Division III team we're talking about is Uniontown Lake. I think they have a losing season. They did not do too well last year. I think that when they got seeded in the playoffs, it didn't help them much.
Right. And Lake, fun fact, is one of my favorite places to go play an away game.
In that little bowl?
That little bowl, underground. Lots of crazy things happen to teams that I was playing with there. Lots of crazy things happen, good and bad. But it was always one of my favorite places to go play. It kind of felt like you were like in a different zone to be in since you're underground than everything else. By underground, the stadium's built into the ground, so you're playing services below grade.
So Uniontown Lake was a 13 seed that made it to the district semis last year, losing to eventual district champ Solon. So maybe they just play a little bit of a tougher schedule. Maybe they really use their regular season to prepare for the postseason, because 13th seed out of 30 isn't all that bad.
Right. For them, it might be bad for what they consider there, but I think them and Hoover, all those Federal League teams kind of play like the same type of schedule.
Yes. All right, Division 4. Who do we got as winning seasons, and who do we think is going to be one of the best in there, Dan?
I think Niles. We have Hubbard. Niles, Poland as our winning seasons. Lakeview's right there at 8-8. We're gonna they could go either way. Poland dropping the D4 is really gonna help. I don't want to say help. It's gonna. Poland has a good team. They had an injury, terrible injuries.
Yeah,
that affected them last year. They have Sofia Generalovic
coming back. Yeah,
she's good. Poland's right there, and it's something when we always seem to start our season off girls wise with Poland and Canfield seems to be, which I like that rivalry a lot.
Yes, I do.
And it's always that first game where Poland they look okay, but Canfield kind of takes them. But as the season progresses, Coach Hudak's got those Huda.
No, you're
Hudak.
good.
Yeah, Coach Hudak really rights the ship, and they really play a really well, attractive, winning style of soccer. Niles, for me, though, they're the ones that could be. They may not be as deep as other teams, but they had an incredible freshman class coming in.
Maddie Yost is a player. I've seen her play in person. I've seen her at a couple club tournaments, small-sided, maybe 7-on-7 type stuff. She is quick. She's decisive. She can trap the ball well. She has very good vision, and she's very high soccer IQ.
Yeah, and not to mention they have one of the most tenured coaches.
Yeah,
not in our area, just in the state of Ohio, or he's always around a
Hall of Famer, if I'm not mistaken, the Youngstown District.
Yeah, and I'm sure by the time he's all said and done, he'll be in the Hall of Fame in Ohio too. But Niles, I don't know if they have the depth to really do what they can do, but the high end players they have are unreal.
Yeah, Brianna Bash is not walking through the door. They need someone to score.
Right.
And last year, I don't think they had a lot of that. So West Branch and Salem, I think their golden years are in the past.
Hopefully we get proved wrong, but
yes.
Both teams graduated so much, It's hard. It's hard to rebuild off of these. And a lot of times, West Branch and Salem, they've had good teams for several years in a row, but they've had generations of it. It's weird how schools have that, where they have even countries. They call it, they say the U.S. is in their golden generation right now.
Yeah.
And don't even make it on a group play in the Copa. But, I agree with you. I think both of those teams may have just got out of that golden year. Not to say they can't get back into it.
Yeah, but when you lose the talent that they lost, like a Riley Hutton or a...
West Branch still has more people there. It's not like they
don't...
True. They still have some high-end talent coming back. Salem, Riley Hutton was... miss everything for them.
Yeah, it was kind of, if they were going to score, if they're going to be successful, it was going to go through her.
Right.
And without her there, it's going to be tough. The losing season for them is the prediction from us.
Right.
Hubbard with the other coach.
Right. Josh McMillan.
Yeah. We think Hubbard, Poland, and Niles are going to have winning seasons, 10-plus wins for each. And on the other side, everyone's just about going to have just on the other side of losing.
Right.
Girard, I don't think they've had a winning season in a couple years. Lakeview is hit or miss. They had that real nice season where they won district a couple years back, and they're still rebuilding.
Good goalie.
Oh, yeah. Ava
Hippel, yeah.
So I think she does everything in her power to keep them in the games. And Ursuline has lost some from years past. So lots of rebuilding, you know what I've been finding out in all the coaches we've been talking to and all the results and going to the Canfield Classic and talking about the Alliance Tournament and the Adidas National Showcase is coming up. A lot of teams are having trouble scoring. And I think it's national too. You watch the Euros and you watch how many France own goal was the number one leading scorer in the Euros, if I'm not mistaken.
Own goal, yeah. That was
Owen Goel.
No, and whether that's an issue of our defense is getting so much better.
Could be.
I don't think that's the issue. I think they are getting. It's not like they're bad.
No.
I just think all-out scoring. I think a lot of players are. I made the analogy before where Canfield almost had a whole bunch of center mids.
Yeah.
I think players are brought up so much on a hybrid where you change. You played forward your entire career.
Yeah.
And everyone knows it when they see you play. But I really don't think you have that anymore, unless maybe goalie wise. But a lot of times players they switch.
A Riley Hutton, yes. Yeah. A Macy Taporsa a little bit, but she was more of she could have been anywhere.
Yeah, and I think she played more of a number 10 role.
But not like a Larry Lensick. I don't know if you remember him for Boardman. It was basically when he had the ball, it was like, oh, crap, he's going to score.
Yeah.
And there was no real rhyme or reason. Not a lot of passing. Forwards are notoriously selfish.
Right.
But I remember just thinking to myself, that dude's a scorer. That's who you have to stop. And he would still beat you even though.
Like Nick Novak. He was a scorer. He
Nick
didn't always
Novak
play
was a
striker.
scorer. Thomas Rink,
Yeah.
who had 63 goals from
Maplewood. Yeah.
Yeah, guys that Blake Baker had 25 for Fitch. Renix Ushia had 43.
Yeah.
I
I think it's those, and it's becoming more of a popular term where you might play striker like 7th and 8th grade year, and then they kind of drop you back and put you at outside back when you get to high school, just to try to fill you in to get you on the field. That's like kind of a more of a attacking role nowadays. I think that's kind of what's going on. I think you just don't have any pure. I think we have pure defenders.
Yeah,
I don't think we have pure strikers because everyone's just so well versed in everything.
And I see it in club too, where it's like defense and midfield. It's very scripted. It's very here. Ball moves around, and then it gets to where you have to take some chances and you have to be creative. And players just don't have that right now because I think a lot of the training is structured. There's not a lot of, hey, there's an open field. Go play and figure out, do all the things your coach would be mad at you if you tried to like rainbow it over somebody
Right.
or tried to do a move.
Yeah. Look at Gabe Atterwell.
Yeah.
He played
Almost
defender.
like a defensive mid. Yeah.
Yeah, and then his senior year they move him up to 4 and he blows the world apart up there. So.
But yeah, D4, I think Poland I would put up in the top 5, and that might be about it.
Yeah, Niles has room to grow. I just want to see him play. I want to see him play against good competition if they have the depth to do it.
And that happens with
Same
some
thing with
younger
Hubbard.
teams.
Hubbard's right there too.
I agree, but Hubbard seems to every year be in the like near the top, but you never really hear of like a groundbreaking player coming from there. It's all team play.
And that could be a testament to the system that
Josh puts in.
that he puts in there. Yeah. They're always right there. They're
Yeah.
always like, "Hey, we're here," but they never, they open the door, they never walk all the way in, and that could be on us. I don't know.
Well, it also could be if they had that one like superstar player that's like, oh my God, they're really good. I mean, we've only been in this is our 5th year,
Right?
so maybe it was before our time, but it hasn't been for a while. Division 5, Champion losing their leading scorer, their leading defender, but they still have Meili Nadad. They still have Grayson Noski.
Meili's so good. Just like we were talking about Matty Yost and the other person I can't think from Niles. Meili Nadad impressed the hell out of me last year. I thought she was fantastic. I would have never guessed she was a freshman. Just by watch, you could tell she was younger by looking at her.
Yeah.
But the way she played, the way she used her body, her vision out there, really blew me away. And Champion plays a real good system.
Yeah.
And,
They've got Coach Matheny and Coach Varley do a nice job over there. Mooney is another one that doesn't have their schedule up, so we couldn't really say anything about them. Columbiana, for some reason, looking at Columbiana's schedule, seeing how they do on the girls' side, we said Columbiana 10-6, double-digit win.
Right. It's in the realm of possibility.
It is.
I don't say we're like throwing a dart on the board, but it's there. It's not like we're just blindly saying that. They have it depends on how the other cards line up, like for other teams and stuff like that. But Columbiana, all said and done, they could push 10 win. Hold on 1 second.
And South Range just hadn't been really anything big since Gabby Lamparty was here a couple years back.
They went through a coaching change like right at the end of the year, right at the beginning of the season, right?
I believe so.
Late summer, maybe.
Crestview we have is about middle of the road. Pymatuning Valley, Rootstown, United, who has a new coach in Nikki Blazer.
Right. I was corrected. I recently became friends with someone who went to Rootstown.
Rootstown?
Roots, like you say, like in my roof, wash your Hans. You know what I mean? It's Rootstown.
All right, Rootstown.
I'm only correcting you because I was corrected pretty heavily when I said Rootstown.
Well, I sit corrected.
Rootstown.
United local. I know new coach coming in, new system. We're going to see how they are. It's not a lot of information about them just yet. Younger team. Newton Falls, same thing. We have them just on the bad side of 500. We don't know. Warren JFK, they don't have their schedule up, but I think with
Andrew Ryan.
Yeah, Dee Dee Ryan, as they call her. Between her and Meili Nadad being on the same team in that All-Star game, they were out to prove a point. Yeah. It was this younger group that just said, "Hey, we're here." That
was maybe the surprise of the year when we had Canfield and West Branch playing together, and the freshman from Trumbull County ran them.
Yeah, which I when we started making a team, we're like, I don't know, this doesn't seem that fair.
Yeah,
we got all these 18-year-old, 17-year-old girls that have proven themselves against the freshmen. We're like, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I don't know how JFK is going to finish, but I'm guessing you could probably pencil Dee Dee Ryan in for between 40 and 60 goals.
And player of the year and all state again and all conference. And Grand Valley didn't have theirs. Badger, Maplewood didn't have theirs, but Springfield, let's talk quickly about them. That's Coach Justin Kosick. He's been there for a while. He's had a lot of success. We have them as, double-digit wins doing something in Division 5.
Yeah, Springfield's always been that team that they always have a couple players who are like, where'd they come from?
Mm-hmm.
Is there something in the water here? But they never have the depth. So, like, they might, the conference they're in, the schedule they play in the regular season, they're going to rack up wins. They're going to rack up points. But the real test is when it comes to, like, playoff time. And they've just proven themselves, not proven, but past results indicate that they don't have the depth to make a run in the playoffs.
Yeah, because if you're playing against them and they have 2 or 3 good players and you can match up with 2 or 3, but you have a few more, you have a little bit more depth, you can definitely, show them who's boss.
And they're supposed to have a good freshman, and I can't think of what her name is, but I seen her play like 2 years ago, and it was like awe-inspiring.
That's pretty cool. And
if she's still playing high school soccer.
and I give you a lot of credit because we have almost 70 teams, and each team has, let's say, at least 15 players.
Yeah.
That's over 1,000 people. I hope that's the math.
Yeah. If not,
If not, we'll edit this, and you'll just hear my voice go like under instead
it'll
of
be
over.
like, actually, I was off by 700.
Bristol, we have Bristol doing something special here too. Looking back at the playoffs from last year, let's see, that's Division 2. Division 3, where's Bristol? There's that stupid, the way they did that one bracket.
Oh, yeah.
Bristol came out, beat Newton Falls as a 15 seed, and I feel like the score might not have been the way they wanted, but they did pretty well against Poland, or just my expectations were very low. Yeah, so that's Division 5 for the girls. Let's go to a commercial break, Dan. Let's do that.
All right.
Pitchmen is brought to you by...
Did you miss the last Youngstown Phantoms hockey game? Catch up with the Dump and Chase podcast.
He's a pretty big guy, and he was the only one with hair. I am, of course, talking about assistant coach Brandon Gawkin. Brandon, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for all your support. It's great, the stuff that you guys do and how much coverage you bring. I know we appreciate it a lot as a coaching staff, and our guys really appreciate it. So thank you so much for putting all this hard work in.
The Dump and Chase podcast, Wednesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio and the iMedia One Network.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Dan.
And Chris. This is Pitchmen, the Steel Valley Soccer Podcast.
We cover all things high school soccer in the Mahoning Valley.
Catch our episodes on Spotify.
Or visit our website for the skill,
In the back of the net.
the teams,
Mitchell with the shot. Goal! Finds the back of the net.
And the soundboard.
is the best net. For more information, go to steelvalleysoccer.com. Das Boot.
All right, let's talk about the boys' side of things. No D1 school on the boys' side, but we do have Maslin Perry coming over on D2 from what I've heard from the head of our Mahoning Valley High School Soccer Coaches Association.
What if they still have the same coach, the British guy?
They've gone through a couple coaches. I remember a short blonde guy. I remember a guy before that was like stocky. They got a lot of coaches. So Perry, Fitch, Harding, and Boardman. And Perry we have is the only one that's just on the good side of a 500 record.
Right. And I feel Fitch is right there. We have them at, they play 17 games. We have them at 8-8.
So they could be 9-8.
They could be 9-8. And I honestly think out of this group here, Fitch is going to have the best team. They play a pretty tough schedule. They play an insanely tough schedule. And it makes me happy because I've always said the hardest schedule they've ever played was my senior year when traveled to go
Toledo,
play
St. Francis de Sales.
to lose 6-0, and then they felt so bad for us they fed us afterwards before we came home. But yeah, it's I like them getting back to what they used to do and playing some tough teams. This is kind of Fitch's thing where they have a very big senior class that's very experienced, and this is it for them. If this is all the same guys that have been playing, so this is it for them.
Yeah,
I mean, they have still. This is when I say this is it. They still have people coming up.
No,
this
but
is their
this
chance
is
to make
like,
a run, though.
hey, this is the group that has been talked about for years and years as being the group
Right.
that's going to start winning games. And Fitch, not a winning season for 6 years. So I don't know. Maybe I got the math wrong.
Yeah, that's
on
wrong because we had one 2020 for sure.
How do you know that, Dan?
'Cause-
Harding, we have just on the wrong side again. Harding has what Tilden Tatabe does at
Right.
Harding is just short of a miracle.
Right. I think you and I differ a little bit, but I have them like between 4 and 6 wins. But if you look at what they start with, it should be a 0-win team. And I mean that with absolute, that sounds, if I say respect, how's that going to sound respectful? But what he's able to create over there and how he's able to take athletes that maybe have never played soccer before and teach them how to play. And I think one of his biggest faults is also one of the best things he does, where he teaches them how to play the mental game.
Yeah.
He tries to teach them how to play the game correctly. They don't play like, they have athletes that can outrun everybody.
It's not just kickball.
Right. He's teaching them the correct way of doing it. And I think everybody else would be like, no, we're going to teach them, we're going to try to win.
Yeah.
And he does it the right way. And I think if he, that's much to his, it kind of, I don't want to say it kind of cuts him down a little bit, but he should be coach of the year all the time for whatever division he's in, 2, 3, because the job he does, there's nobody that has a harder job than he does every year.
I 100% agree.
And Harding's a team that always ends up competing way more than that you'd expect them to do. They always end up getting results here and there that, maybe they get blown out here or there, but they always end up getting a result that you would never expect them to get.
Yeah, they play well together. They're hard to defend. Their field is hard to play at.
The hardest field.
100 yards long, which one of the shortest ones around. They do return Sebastian O'Brien. He'll be a senior. Last year, he was first team All-District, second team All-Conference, second team All-Steel Valley, 11 goals, 7 assists. So I think he'll be the mainstay in the middle there, and we'll see how they do outside of that. Then comes Boardman. Boardman's schedule is freakishly, it might be the hardest one in the area.
Right. Yeah, I'd say Fitch, Boardman, and Mooney have the hardest schedules in the area. But
they have Revere. I want to say they have Columbus DeSales. They have Akron St. Vincent's. They have Hoban. And Boardman has, I think, 12 or 13 seniors. So this is also their, like, hey, you've been around a lot. You have a lot of players here. You're basically, if we're keeping 18 people as this, a lot of senior heavy.
And they've had, I don't want to say turmoil is probably the wrong way of putting it, but they've had some, they had that guy that came from Turkey last year.
Beto Cusini.
Yeah. I think he really, I don't want to say saved them, but he added a level to that team that was not there before he got there.
Yeah.
He would have added to any team.
Well, they went from 2 players being co-district player of the year to being it's kind of on his shoulders with some minor parts around.
Right. Yeah, they work hard. It's not like they're. It'd be interesting to see where they fall.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
I think going from a 4-win season, you're not going to jump to a 10-win season.
No, not playing that schedule. No.
Especially in the schedule they play. Yes, they're going to be ready for the playoffs. I have mixed feelings about that. Yes, you want to play a tough schedule. Yes, you want to get your kids acclimated to playing against tough teams because that's what you're going to see in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But you want to compete in those games.
Right.
Just playing them, like any team can go lose 8-0, 9-0.
Right. I would say like Fitch playing those teams, they can compete with them right now. Boardman playing those games, I know it's to say like, oh, it's a good loss.
Yeah.
Really not a good loss. You can take things away from it, but in the end, it's still in the same category.
Correct.
As a loss.
And the crazy thing too is last year both Boardman and Fitch split. They each won a game against each other, so that's going to be interesting to see.
Right. And I think even if Boardman increased, like, is 50% better, I'm not saying 50% record-wise better. Even if they're 50% better than they were last year, that schedule they're going to play, they might be right where they were again.
Yeah, if not worse. We'll see how it goes. Hoping that all these teams, and again, all these are based off of the fact that nobody gets injured, which injuries are definitely a thing that happen. It's part of the game. Division 3, we got 3 teams, Dan. What are they?
We got Howland, Canfield, and Salem this year, and we've jokingly referred to Division 3 as a meat grinder as a whole. This is going to be a different flair to what's going on. I think, do all 3 teams have new head coaches this year?
Howland will no longer have Brian Stiles. We're pretty sure that
it's for sure.
Nick Shealy will be their next head coach. Canfield has Phil Simone, which I don't know how new you want to call him.
Right, new to taking the program over, but yeah.
And Salem, I think they got the same person.
Oh, Ziegler,
yeah.
Okay, I don't know why
I think Brad Davis went over to the girls' side. Girls have a new coach.
Okay.
But yeah, what do you think of those 3?
We saw Canfield at the Canfield tournament at the showcase. They could be really good. Coach Simone does a fantastic job with the girls. He did a fantastic job with the boys when he was doing both of them before.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason not to think that they're not going to have success again with that. They got some high-end talent in Ryan Dangle and Drew Snyder.
Yes.
When I say high-end talent, I think I'm underselling what they are because they could be all-state first team
Yes.
type players.
And I think both play for the Riverhounds in Pittsburgh.
The biggest question mark for Canfield is their defense. They lost almost everybody on defensive line and their goalie last year.
Yeah.
But if you have the ball the whole entire time, I guess it really doesn't affect the defense.
Best defense is good offense, right?
So Canfield could be the team to beat this year. They're going to be in the top 5 for sure. They could be. I would put them at number 1 right now.
I think if we had to make it, gun to our head, they're number 1.
Right, and they play a tough schedule too, and not as in and out as tough as Fitch and Boardman.
Yeah,
but it's pretty good. They could be number 1. Will they stay number 1 throughout the year with their defensive line getting pressed by other teams, high end teams? We'll see. I'm excited to see how they do this year.
Salem, we have is could go either way. Have them just on the right side of 500. But what about Howland, Dan?
Howland, every year it's like, Howland's going to be taking a downturn. It's going to happen, right? It's going to happen eventually.
Well, it didn't happen because they had the same head coach, a world-class head coach in Brian Stiles.
It's not saying that Shealy
Nothing against Shealy, but
there's a difference.
There has to be.
Right. I know he was with Stiles for a long time. He learned from the best. I think the talent level from Howland has definitely went down a little bit from where it was a few years ago.
Mm-hmm. They definitely are rebuilding, but what does rebuilding look like for them?
Right. But they always have like the same cornerstones. They always play fantastic defense. They give up like 10 to 15 goals a year max. Mm-hmm. They may not have like the high-end scoring that they had in years where they made state title runs, but the defense is always there for them. And I think it's like a more of a philosophy as a whole with Howland. I don't think it's just like defenders defend. It's when they lose the ball, 11 people are playing defense at the same time. I think that's why they're successful. I don't think they're going to have the scoring that they have to have the crazy season that like, hey, we're state ranked.
And I don't think, did they win district last year? I believe they did. They beat Mooney in the district final.
They did. And like I said, every year it's like, they're going to be worse, but then they end up just being in the same spot. So it's going to happen. If it's going to happen, they don't have a whole lot of like seniors this year. They have supposedly some good incoming freshmen there, and they had a good freshman last year that made a mark. So we'll see.
So just reloading.
In the meat grinder.
Division 4, we have Poland boys. We have them, but it looks like Poland boys might have lost a couple of their players. We're going to see how that goes. We hear there's a couple of transfers that might have gone to a local Catholic school. Mm-hmm. Mooney has 13-3. We have them
Why'd you go to them right now?
I don't know.
Okay.
And we think that they, for having a tough schedule, we think that they have the horses. Angel Alvarez has been very good. Aiden Hareb has been very good. That's a very good start. And possibly getting other players coming in, that's going to only help out.
Not just getting other players, getting other like game breaker players.
Yeah, from a couple different schools.
Yeah, when I'm saying Salem, or when I say Canfield starting number 1, I put Mooney at number 2 right now.
Mm-hmm, same.
But those two could flip flop week to week.
Yeah,
they're different. How could they be so similar but so different? Like Canfield's super athletic, super physical. They play like a more aesthetically pleasing game. Mooney plays a winning philosophy game that's gonna. They always pull it out. I feel like if any team, like when you go to these showcases, you see teams trying to figure out their identity, try on players at different spots. For whatever reason, Mooney's like mid-season form during these showcases. I'm not alleging anything, nothing like that.
No, we're not saying that they're doing every day's a ball work day.
They just always seem like they're at a higher level, at the same level all year round, instead of like being so bad and trying to peak at the right time. They're just always there.
And there is a correlation between club players playing for your high school because they are playing year round. Mm-hmm. There have been, a lot of the players that go to Mooney were on that national team that went to Colorado and bowed out this weekend. Some other teams in there. Hubbard looked good. We saw them beat Marlington at the Cardinal Classic. Trent Reinhardt looks like a stud.
Oh, we were talking about players that teams having a hard time scoring.
Yeah,
he's gonna score some goals.
Yeah, he scored a couple, and there's a couple other players in there that if we had a roster and uniforms, we'd be able to call them out. But they had a couple shots. I think of their 3 goals, he scored the one inside the 18-yard box, and the other 2 were scored from outside the 18-yard box.
And I went back and watched that game, but I watched it on like fast forward as fast as YouTube would let me go. And it's weird. You see them just like last year. Hubbard plays defense, bam, goal.
Yeah,
the other way, and they just kind of lull you into it. They kind of get you, and they have those game breakers where they could defend. 1-2 passes, they're on goal, and they put it in the back of the net. It worked from last year. I think they really didn't graduate anybody.
Yeah.
They may have. I just can't think of it right now.
Vinny Mayorga.
They at defender, and but they have some really good players.
But they
Really good system.
I keep thinking of the Star Wars. It's a trap. We're like, yes, come forward. Bring your
Right.
numbers forward. We're going to counter with more people than you have right now.
Right. I don't really know if they set traps like
If
other
that's
teams
done
do.
on purpose, yeah.
Right, but they for sure they bring you in to see, they take pressure, and it's like once you're overexposed, they're gone. And that could be, Coach Corey Reinhardt's one of the most tenured coaches we have.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's really turned that program around. He went grassroots, went down in it, and really turned around the youth scene that they have there,
Yeah.
and it's it's paying dividends now.
Some other teams here. Niles has been down for a little bit. Hopefully, whenever you have a lot of coach turnover, that usually goes hand in hand with having that, and that's what they've had a lot in the recent years. Ursuline had lost a lot through graduation with Abe Rogers and I'm thinking,
Forsyth.
yeah, they've just lost a lot
Yeah.
since the last couple years when they won district, and I think it was 2020 or 2021. Gerard with the new head coach. They also have Andrew Whitman coming back. They've got a couple players that play club that are there that I think they're going to surprise some people this year. I have them just on the right side of 500.
Yeah, and I think Gerard's one of those teams where they could. I have them between like 9 and 6 wins because I don't know what other teams are going to be. But we saw them play. They seem like they're a good team.
And that's the crazy thing about these conferences. When you play each other twice, like that could be 2 wins, that could be 2 losses. You just don't know about the other team.
Right.
Liberty, still building up. Not a very old program. And West Branch, Dan. West Branch, I think, is going to surprise a lot of people this year. We have them in double-digit wins.
I completely agree. They have a lot of players playing the club scene as well,
Mhm.
and I think they're kind of. I don't want to say golden age coming in like the girls had, but they got enough players coming in that's going to make a difference.
Yeah,
for the team.
their younger group, Coach Sam Martucci, his son's in that group.
Right.
I think that he had a vested interest and he was there hands-on in the youth program, just like you said, Corey Reinhardt was. And I think that this team's going to be like, it's going to be a little bit of a flip-flop from the girl side of things in West Branch.
Right. Well, I always think of West Branch. I think of Andrew Lessick
Breaking the net.
breaking the net there,
And taking a picture with the team in front of it.
Right, and that's one of my favorite places. I like that place a lot. I like it's a natural grass field. It's always in great shape, but I like playing those like the fat round post goals with the drop back nets pulled back, and
Like old Valley Sports.
it just makes you. It brings you back to your roots.
It-
I like playing there. It's a
It
cool
feels
place.
it's soccer specific.
The fans are right on the
It's
field.
that's the crazy part.
Yeah.
And fans are very vocal in West Branch, especially on the girl side.
Right. I feel like we kind of brushed on Poland.
Yes.
We have the 13-3. That's a team where Coach Garkar does a great job. He churns out players. They
Michael Daly, goalkeeper, best goalkeeper in the area.
every year they seem to lose they lost Noah Huda, and I can't think of the player before him, but they lose these goal scorers that are just put up gaudy numbers. And again, they play in a conference where they're going to put up numbers, and they don't shy. They do put up numbers against these teams. But the system they have there works, and they have a big program. They have a very good youth scene there as well. Their JV teams are always top in the area as well. So talent they kind of reload year to year, no matter who they lose, no matter how many goals they lose. They're always in the mix for some. I don't want to say for some reason. They're just always there. Yeah.
Now for D5. D5 is the largest of the divisions that we have in terms of the amount of teams in our area. We have 20 boys Division 5 teams. So a couple that have come to my head that I think are going to have good seasons. Champion, I think, is on the uptick. Coach Sean Wilson. Sean with 2 N's, which I didn't know that. I think he's doing a great job. I think they got a couple of club players that are coming in. They're going to be good for them. Dan, who else do you see?
South Range is the team as well. I don't know what they have coming up. I know they always have a couple kids that are really good. They have a good system. I don't know what they're going to have this year. I know they had players move on that were very talented, but they just always find a way to compete there. Crestview is another team. They were once one of the top
state
teams.
runner-up.
And they had that team was. I don't want to say we took them for granted, how stacked they were and how great they were, but
I think everyone was just in shock as to how I know personally I'd go to games and be like, okay, this team is pretty good, but they're playing a team that's historically good,
right?
And they beat them convincingly, and it wasn't even close.
And they're almost like a cat playing with food. They would be like, and now we're gonna get serious, and it's like
Ryan Emsch was a beast. Nick Novak, 50-some goals.
Right. But Crestview themselves, they're going to have some athletes. I don't think they have the talent they used to have. They definitely don't have the depth they used to have. I'd see Crestview being, under 500. I don't know how far under that, but yeah.
There's two teams on here that we give a lot of attention to because they've been very good in the last couple of years, that they've graduated a lot. Now, United Local still has probably the best player in the area.
Yeah.
In Maddox Andrea. But how many other,
Yeah.
And I don't want to say role players is a bad term. Role players is awesome. Do your job. You do your job well, and your team's going to be successful. But I don't know how many of those they have around. And Warren JFK graduated, Seminaro, Condoleone.
Yeah.
And I want to say there's one other.
Probably is.
Yeah.
We've been away from this for a while. It's all right.
Yes. But rumor is that they might be missing a couple of players that they thought were coming back this year.
Ooh. Dun. That's news to me, too. So
Yeah, and I'm not going to say it because it's not a confirmed 100% thing.
No, I think United, I think they're almost in the same boat. Because JFK, the style they play is they are pressure all the time, but they rely on their heavy hitters for a lot. And when we watched them play against like Canfield, and Canfield dominated them for 75 of the 80 minutes, but they couldn't put the ball in the back of the net.
Mm-hmm.
And JFK just stuck around. And they exerted. I felt like they had like no energy left, and all of a sudden, boom, they score a goal, and Nick Ryan puts it in the back of the net, and they walk around there with a tie. Not saying it was undeserved, but they exert a lot of energy out there.
Oh,
and they
yes.
don't. And
they don't sub a lot.
no, and their subbing is like you said, not a lot. A lot of teams, like when you have your first 11, maybe your next 3, there might be a slight drop off. Maybe a younger person coming in, trying to get his feet in. For them, when they sub, I'm not saying maybe not 11 or 12 or 13. It's a very big drop off.
Yeah, and you'll see that in the smaller schools because they just don't have as many people to pull from. But yeah, it's like, hey, you are staying on the field.
Yeah.
If you need water, walk over to the side, drink it, but stay on the field.
Yeah.
There's some other teams here. Jackson Milton, I know, lost Ratuna. He's not coming. I mean, he graduated, so it's going to be tough for them. Columbiana, they lost a couple of talented players to graduation. But some of these, it's just so hard to gauge because they play a lot of teams outside of our area, a lot of smaller teams like Pymatuning Valley, Grand Valley, Brookfield, Newton Falls, Bristol, Matthews,
East
Heartland
Palestine.
Christian, East Palestine, Lordstown. Badger is the last one I want to talk about, though. Badger, I believe we did not give enough credit to Badger last year in the season that they had. They had a player, Dax Harnett, who unbelievable, coming back again this year. I think they might be top 5. I might have to have a little bit more information about them, but it was impressive. Last year's playoff for them, they were what, D3?
Yeah. And historically speaking, Badgers they've always worked like dogs. They work so hard. They're I don't want to say like a farm town because they're not really, but they have like old school players. Like it's the ball or the man. Not both.
They're physical. They're not dirty, but grimy. They're grimy, gritty.
Yeah, and they grind out games. And they always have a couple kids that can put the ball in the back of the net.
But they were a 7 seed last year and made it all the way to the district final and lost to Beechwood, the Bison.
Yeah, the Buffalo Bill logo there.
Yeah, I wonder how schools get away with that, just overtly stealing NFL logo.
It's like, remember when Bobby Valentine, he's a MLB manager.
Yeah.
He got thrown out of a game, and he came back with one of those fake mustaches and and glasses, and he came back and sat
That's
down.
what this logo is, just a fake mustache on it.
That's exactly what I think of. Anybody knows what I'm talking about. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. And he went and sat back down in the dugout like
nothing happened.
Like nothing happens.
But so yeah, that was number 1 Beechwood. They were ranked 7th. Champion was 8th. Crestview was 10th. Over on this bracket over here, is anyone higher than that in our area? United was 2, but United last year ran into a buzzsaw with Andrews Osborne.
It's almost not fair.
Yeah, the recruiting is an understatement because it's international players.
Their district photo that they took of the winners, and it has like 8 different flags flying in the background. I mean, more power to them, but it's a different beast when you're United and you have a pool of 20 kids you're choosing from, and you're playing against a team that's got 8 different international flags in the background. It's
You got 84 kids in your whole school, boys,
right.
and they got 84 coming from
Right.
everywhere. All right, well, that's our possibly wrong, possibly right predictions for both sides. Coaches, if you're listening, or players, if you're listening, have your coaches as soon as you get your rosters finalized. If you have any photos of like photo day, we can use in our graphics here on our website or on our social media, or even on our graphics. If we're doing a game of the week, we can highlight 2 players, and that's going to be something to do. So anyone who wants to sponsor, we have a couple of gold level sponsors, North Jackson Hydraulics and Baird Brothers. Silver level is Armstrong Albaco Foundry. The Mahoning Valley High School Soccer Coaches Association. We want to thank them for theirs.
That's cool.
I like that they did that. And other schools, I've talked to a couple coaches, they want their boosters to become sponsors because of how much we do for them. Generolovich Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery. Bronze level is Allstate Insurance with Robert Fusco. Dean G. Perry CPAs and Advisors. And Papa John. So we're working right now on just getting our live stream stuff perfect. We're also looking at getting more swag for the player of the game so that they can put something on their bag or get a free pizza or a shake at possibly a local nutrition place. Dan, is there anything else that on the top of your head you want to talk about before we go?
Yeah, 2 things. I mean, I'm really looking forward to unveiling our new live stream setup we're going to have. Obviously, there's going to be some kinks in the beginning, but the days of us holding up our phone recording are days of the past, luckily.
No one has seen that unless they were magical to be able to, what was that, 2021? Yeah. The 2021 season.
When the gimbal just decided.
We had a gimbal, which is a thing that makes it smooth left and right, so it's not as herky-jerky, and it was not the right piece of equipment, and we had to try to figure it out, and at one point, we held the phone up to the glass, and our shoulders were burning.
Right.
We've come a long way from that.
We're trying to rest up against the glass.
Oh,
no, we've done a lot of trial and error, and we say it all the time. It's either you win or you learn, and we've done a lot of learning.
Yes,
we have tried a lot. We've learned a lot, and one thing I like to bring back is we talked earlier on what a winning season is. I'm eager to see if people agree with me that if it's just more wins than any other category, it's a winning season. But I understand where you're coming from. I understand completely.
Like, hey, if you have 10 games and you only won 4, doesn't matter if you tied 6 and you went undefeated. Is that a winning season? So we are going to ask it on our social media. We're going to ask it on our podcast. We're going to tally all the votes. So if you vote multiple times, oh well, do it.
I just hope everyone shows that
I'm right.
Dan's right on this. Yeah.
Oh, that's usually our we agree button. I hit the wrong button. And I just realized I've never hit a sound button for this episode. So
that's why it was going so good.
That must have been.
I had such a smile on my face. And now, it was
nothing. All right. Thanks for listening, Dan. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Pitchmen, a Steel Valley Soccer production. Email us at steelvalleysvs@gmail.com to give suggestions, corrections, or any comments you want us to hear. For more information, go to steelvalleysoccer.com.